everyone hear me okay? Can you guys hear me at the back of us? No, not at all. And if I'm sort of just talking like that, are you okay? Can you hear? Is that okay? So, because we're not using microphones tonight, so yeah, I think everyone would probably need to stay, just make sure you can hear us, and if not, just edge forward a little bit. My name is Simon Grice. I'm not Stuart Townsend, who was going to be sort of hosting the conversation this evening. Stuart's actually, for those of you who know him, he's actually really ill. I last heard from him on Wednesday morning, and then he sort of disappeared off the face of the earth, and then appeared yesterday morning saying he's been in bed for 5 days. So he's okay though. Anyway, I've stepped in at the last minute to help do this. So Manoj, do you want to say anything this evening?
Yes, thank you very much for coming. So we, Techcelerate, a long time ago, was influential in building the Manchester tech ecosystem. We restarted that end of last year. We are now working with about 19 technology companies, so some of them are here. So thanks for coming, and looking forward to having a chat with Simon and Jeevan.
Okay, cool. So tonight is going to be it's very much a fireside chat, and hence why we turn the room around. So I'm going to kind of ask some questions, but once we kind of get going, feel free to probably raise your hand or just shout out if it feels appropriate to do that, and just ask questions of these guys. And like I said, I'm just going to be hopefully facilitating a little bit to get us started. So Jeevan, this is your first time in Manchester, and how are you enjoying it so far?
So far it's been great. It's been a bit cold, but otherwise.
So you arrived at midday?
Yeah.
Wow. From Sri Lanka?
That's right.
Where it's probably about 32 or something?
Yeah.
To -2 in Manchester. So great, do you want to, we were just chatting outside a little bit about your background, which is quite fascinating. The last 12, 15 years sounds like you've done a lot in Sri Lanka. Rather than you tell these guys, do you want to give a quick overview?
Okay. Basically, I come from a third generation family business, started by my grandfather about 70 years ago. He's kind of what I call a true entrepreneur, so went from India to Sri Lanka with not much in terms of money or education, started selling scrap iron and plastic on the road, slowly built that into a shop, and then during the 1960s, as he was trading these goods, said, hey, can we start manufacturing some of these goods in Sri Lanka rather than just trading them? As a result, I think he's considered the father of industrialization in Sri Lanka, and the group has a lot of, large manufacturing backgrounds. We have, for example, the largest cement manufacturers in Sri Lanka, a lot in building materials, roofing.
How big is the group? So
it's about $350 million, and we employ about 6,000 people.
Wow, that's pretty big.
Yeah,
it must be one of the biggest.
Yeah, we're in top range. Yeah. So when I joined the family business about I think 12 to 13 years ago, I guess it shows my age. We kind of I was interested in tech. I started a tech company with my brother, and as we were doing that, we had this. We knew how difficult it was for Sri Lankan IT companies to start because there's no proper infrastructure, etc. And we had this family estate of 16 acres there, and I went to my pretty conservative family board and said, hey, why don't we convert this into an IT park? You have to understand that Sri Lanka was kind of going through this civil war at that time.
So like 10 years ago?
Yeah. But, and it was a difficult time, but managed to convince them. We started with 10,000 square feet at that time. But luckily, when Grace ago, we were able to, in February, we just finished 1 million square feet. So that's Orion City, which is the largest IT park in Sri Lanka. Also, during that time, been very involved, I suppose similar to Manoj, in helping trying to create the Sri Lankan tech ecosystem and the entrepreneurship ecosystem as well.
So your business is very much at the the sort of epicenter of that?
Yeah.
I mean, 1 million square foot is,
Yeah.
that's huge, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And how many people have you got not working there for you, but like startups?
There's about close to 12,000 to 15,000 people. In the entire industry, it's about 200,000.
Okay, and then have the park you set up?
Yeah, it's about 15,000.
All right, well, that's all right.
Yes, sorry.
No, so it sounds like, so you're very much at that ecosystem, and does that include investments on your part as well?
Yes. Yeah, so as I said, I was saying about 10 years ago, got together with about 3 other people and we formed Lankan Angel Network in Sri Lanka, which we started taking initial risks in kind of Sri Lankan startups and trying to get them to grow and grow tech companies. I think we were probably one of the first doing that, but since then the ecosystem has grown quite a bit. Also, throughout the journey, just about 3 years ago, we founded a crowdfunding platform which helps again startups find funding. Just about 2 years ago, we started Sri Lanka's, not in Orion City, but in a different space, about 60,000 square feet, Sri Lanka's largest accelerator and incubator accelerator and co-working space for about another 1,000 people and about 100 startups in Sri Lanka, and also been very involved in Slascom, which is Sri Lanka's largest, I guess, kind of what would be the
it's almost like
B2.
it's a trade association for IT, business process outsourcing,
Yeah.
tech type businesses.
I was just chairman last year of Slascom. Really pushed data science and AI because I had started my own AI company about 2.5 years ago, and I knew if Sri Lanka was to really kind of grow up the value chain, we needed to focus on certain verticals like data science and AI being one of them. So
before we come on to the AI side, how do you know Manoj? Or do you want to tell the story?
Yeah.
So, so one of my tech companies, I think it was eDocker. I founded it here, and I had 3 other co-founders. But after we got through the first iteration, those days the word MVP didn't quite exist, so we had alpha, beta, and then the launch. And my team sort of disappeared, and I had a problem. I wasn't technical. What do I do? So for a period of time, we outsourced to India, but we had a guy called Matt Crest, who's now working for BBC. He acted as my project manager between the Indian team and UK. So he sort of left that role, and then I had the relationship with the Indian team wasn't strong at that time. So I started looking at Sri Lanka, but I didn't know anybody in Sri Lanka.
You're from Sri Lanka?
I am from Sri Lanka, but I left in 1987.
Right, yeah.
Sorry, 88. So I didn't know how to build a profile. So I just, like everybody else did, do those days, I opened a Facebook group, and that sort of became the hub for anyone starting tech companies to come together. So through that, in Sri Lanka. So through that, I got to know other entrepreneurs and got to know people. So I found a team through that. So we got to a point where it was 2011, I was going to Sri Lanka anyway, and I thought, now I think the group has grown to about like 1,000 people or something similar at that time. So felt like maybe we should have an event. So I was looking for a venue and came to know Jeevan, and I said, can we have your place? And he said, okay, to a total stranger. So that's how we first came to know each other.
That's my story.
Yes.
Yeah. Cool. So you stayed in touch ever since?
Yes.
So in terms of your, you were saying just outside that you set up your own AI company. Is that your business?
Yes.
Have you raised funding, or have you funded it?
Self-funded.
Okay. And so tell me about that. How's that?
I think it's going well. We now have a reasonably sized team. We have about 22 data scientists on board and 12 kind of data engineers. So working and co-creating with partners. So I think that's going great.
Okay, and is that generating revenue, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, have you got experience or any other businesses in your network are AI focused? Yeah.
Yes, so what we are doing now is we're trying to work with early stage companies until their eventual exit in 5 to 7 year period. So we are working with 19 companies, and among them a couple of companies are looking at AI. But what we hope is that as the companies start growing, AI is becoming part of that technology evolution. It's no longer that you're not necessarily starting an AI company. You just have you just a bit like if you go back to the old days, you have the original internet, then you have Web 2.0, the social came on, then you have the big data, and you have this AI. You have lots of different technologies coming on board. So I think it's an evolution, but obviously there's you talk about artificial intelligence, you talk about machine learning. Some people are a little bit unclear, including myself, which is which. But I think there's a scope for our companies as they grow to add a bit more AI or machine learning into that to give a lot more strength to the product side.
Yeah.
So Jeevan joined us as a partner a couple of months ago. So we are currently exploring potential projects.
So with the AI business that you've got, you're generating revenue from customers, and what applications they pay for?
So primarily we have some use cases in insurance, banking, and capital markets. I'll give an example. In the insurance market, for example, our most mature product is an automated claims processing system. So after you get in an accident, if you just take a picture of a damage, we have now built an AI that with about 90% accuracy is able to estimate the damage claim. This came in partnership with a company out of Europe, what would have, and they were a startup themselves. So how we kind of work with them and how we want to strategize working with them is enabling them to grow. So they couldn't really afford what it would take to start building an AI product straight away. So for example, I'm just using random numbers. I'm not using the numbers but what would it cost them, say, $500,000 say to do an MVP? We said, okay, we'll do it for half, but maybe what we can do is you need help growing Asia. We'll help you grow in Asia. So they own the IP, but they give us rights to Asia to then to grow that.
Are you funding them?
Indirectly, in a way, because we are taking risk with them, and we're partners with them in Asia, and they continue to use us. So that particular product, now they've kind of signed up with 2 of the largest Nordic insurance companies, and they just got a valuation of like 10 million euros and above. So really, it's that partnership model that we think will grow and help us and help our partners as well.
So do you, I guess, feel free to think about some questions you might want to ask these guys, but so I'm just hearing a lot about AI and machine learning, and as you say, does, maybe there are a few people in the room who can enlighten us, but what's that, is this the next big thing, or is it, or is it kind of like, as you were kind of alluding to, it's not really a next big thing, it's just another phase of technology, and per se, it actually there isn't anything brand new here, it's just simply a new application. Or am I missing something?
I personally think that AI can be applied in a disruptive way. Has anyone read Clayton Christensen's Disruptive versus Sustaining Technologies?
Yeah.
Okay, so I personally think that because AI will make things a lot cheaper, faster, and you're able to really go up that disruption curve. at a lower cost than say competition, you're able to, and what's actually driving that is cheaper compute, large sets of data. That's what's driving that disruption. I think a lot of companies will start looking at AI as a disruptive force. So I think it's worth looking at, and I think it's worth looking into now rather than later if you want to be disruptive.
And is that something that, I guess you're seeing it from the companies involved in Techcelerate, but are investors aware of that? Are they saying, there was a period when social media suddenly became, everyone was investing in social media, and you had do you remember Zing and all these networks, kind of around LinkedIn at the time, but now they've all not necessarily disappeared, but so where are we in that cycle? With AI?
Can I come in there?
Yeah, go on.
So I study quite deeply. I'm the global ambassador for something called TM Forum, which is all the telcos around the world. And in fact, we probably support your competition in dialogue. I was there 2 weeks ago. We did a datathon with their data scientists. They've got 600 data scientists. But all of the telcos are looking at this as a way of getting back at the over-the-top providers and driving to the market quicker. I suppose my big concern is AI's been around since 1950. So it's not a new thing. It's been through 3 or 4 what we call winters of discontent because it didn't have the right sort of environment. Most of it was in the academic environment. You're absolutely right. The things that have changed there are cloud, big data, compute technology, and infrastructure. They're the 4 things that have put it on the forefront.
Yeah.
They've enabled it, and now it's really out there and breeding fast in a lot of organisations. A lot of the stuff that I'm looking at is how do we control AI in an ethical way before we actually implement it. So there's lots of organisations going off trying to build apps or build either machine learning, reinforced learning, deep learning algorithms that at some point we're not going to be able to understand. That's the journey of AI. The idea is that it actually takes over from where we are from a cognitive. I don't want to go too far down there.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I think we need to employ is some ethics and standards before we actually start deploying products.
But I mean, I'll just be a bit controversial, but you really need standards and ethics to basically build an AI application which is essentially looking at car photos and comparing them in inverted commas to historic photos with clay.
Well, you could do if it ruins your business if you get it wrong.
Yeah, I think
The trust with the people that you're integrating with.
Yeah, I think there we have to look at, for example, the product that we're building is GDPR compliant. We don't have PI data. How can that data be used? Is the data biased?
Yeah.
Those are questions.
They're all
that we need
the
to
ethics.
ask.
I think it's deeper than that. I come out of the built environment, I've spent 2 years. And in the built environment, whether it's architecture, engineering, and construction companies and owners, there's a propensity to want to do stuff without actually doing the basic stuff first. And they're going, I'll use AI, it'll bring all stuff together, and somehow it'll wash it like a washing machine and make it all perfect. You're going, when you eat, when you have that meal and it falls in a different colour and it comes out the other end. And that's the problem, they don't, I'm sorry, but
Well, it takes a while to get it.
but there is a reality there, that they want to jump.
Yeah.
And I keep saying to people, you've got to do the ABC if you want to do the complex stuff. If you cannot understand the validity of your data, the quality of it, and if you're taking different data sources, they've got different levels of quality, you mix them together, and then you're not sure what you've got. So I actually turned around to someone and said, all you end up doing is making quicker decisions, but bad decisions, quicker. They don't like it, because it's not what they want to hear. Is that true?
But your business, did you actually develop that AI application, or you?
We don't.
Okay. So and that's where they put in half the money.
Yeah.
So is that making bad decisions more quickly now? Or is it?
He doesn't know yet.
I think it's helping make
that decision.
Yeah, but it's improving all the time, I think, as well.
Yeah.
And we just got, another million photos and data sets from these insurance companies. So the accuracy increases all the time. But I definitely understand what he's saying in terms, because AI, sometimes it's a black box. You don't because the machine, especially machine learning, it's writing the code by itself. What exactly is it writing? And that's another huge business in AI that's going to be there in the future, right? Understanding what the algorithm and that it's writing by itself.
So just as since do you want to keep this subject on AI at the moment? Are you happy with it? Yeah. Because I know we've got limited time, haven't we?
Yeah, so it's half an hour.
Yeah, exactly. You want to keep it to that? Because we're almost
I'm all right. Go feel.
Yeah. Well, it's more you guys, There's food and drink, I suspect, waiting. We'll keep going until I can sense everyone's getting really hungry and thirsty. So how many people here actually really think they understand AI and or machine learning? So, okay, so no hands at all have gone up.
It depends on the use case, doesn't it? Because it's such a broad spectrum, and we work with a lot of computer vision things, and if you look at it from one definition, it wouldn't be AI, and you look at it from another, it absolutely would be. It's like autonomous. Autonomous can be level 1 or level 5. AI can be the same. I think the areas we work in, I know really well. I think some of the more developed things, I don't think anybody really knows because we're not there yet.
Right. So would you put your hand up if I did?
No, I wouldn't say I understand.
No, okay. So from you're kind of acting at an investment level, essentially, strategic level rather than a...
Yeah, I'm a Coursera data scientist, but doesn't mean I understand AI and data science. Yeah.
Okay. I just find that kind of slightly, not worrying, but illuminating that it may or may not be the creme de la creme of Manchester's tech scene in here tonight, but there's a bunch of tech entrepreneurs, right?
Yeah, but you also know that no one's been naive in their answer.
Yeah, no, exactly.
It's a huge area, and Google pumped billions into it, and now everyone has access to it. So this would not be a naive thing we did.
Apple pumped billions into it, and they got it wrong last week. They actually did a credit rating on Apple Pay, and they had people with 20 times better credit ratings. And one guy had 20 times better credit rating than his wife, based on the same data. There was nearly $1 billion wiped off Apple's price.
Yeah, I obviously didn't like it.
There was bias. There was bias in the data.
Without an algorithm's ridiculously rules.
Exactly.
Sorry, Martin, you've got something
Yeah.
to say.
I was just going to say, I know a lot of people in the room, not everybody. So we all run businesses where our machines take in loads of data and they process it and they give us a result. And humans have programmed the algorithms behind that result. That's great, and it gives an amazing result for consumers. Doesn't really mean we understand the logistics and the processing behind it. We set the rules as humans, big data, process it, give a result to people. Lots of work to do to kind of move us forward to how we can commercialise that data, I think. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But there's another part where you're not given the rules. The machines actually start making the rules themselves.
Yeah, so in our business we're not there yet, but
I know,
we will
but
be,
very few people
and that will be terrifying.
Yeah, exactly.
Seriously, that will be terrifying. The moment as a human you give up control and that learning phase is extrapolated so you don't really understand what goes on. I totally understand that, and that is terrifying.
And that's what happened at Apple last week.
It was the bank, not Apple.
Well, all right. Apple got it. Yeah. Apple got the bang.
No, it's the bank.
So Apple got the bang of it. I mean, the headline was
Apple's,
the bank got it wrong, but Apple got the bang.
Apple's problem is that their data set is based on historical data. And historical data tends to show that males are more worthy of targeting for their banking than females because of historical data. Now that's going to change.
Yeah.
I think from a localized point of view, the challenge for us is going after artificial intelligence, even though we may not know what it is. It's a bit like having a feeling that there's oil in the ground, but not known for sure, and it's our responsibility as entrepreneurs to go after it. I mean, in terms of regulation.
But do you think it helps to? I mean, one thing about knowing, the thing about oil is you know, I don't, but people knew what that oil was
Not at the
capable
time.
of doing.
They didn't have the entrepreneurs didn't know at the time.
No,
as
you're
we
right. Actually,
don't.
they didn't originally.
The regulators, I mean, again, if you were to regulate data 30 years ago, as maybe should have happened before the likes of Google and Facebook and took a complete ownership of everything that could possibly known about us, then we wouldn't have done it. But we need the regulators to keep an eye on it. But the entrepreneurs have got to, we know it's there, we know it can be improved, we've got to make use of it. The challenge is going to be is how effective are we going to be in Europe, UK, against emerging economies who haven't known an environment.
Exactly. So that, that's what coming back to yourself and what you're doing. It feels like you're kind of maybe leapfrogging.
Yeah.
The last 10 years to some extent. You set up a business.
So actually, one of the things that I did and I'm continuing to do is write Sri Lanka's AI policy. And
For the government.
For the government. UK already has an AI policy, and a lot of developed countries do, but we're one of the new developing countries that are actually putting in place an AI policy, which is quite good. And actually, tap on our backs. The last election, which just happened a few months ago, we had both presidential candidates really take up AI as one of the biggest things for the country, which is great. I mean, that means there's going to be a lot of importance put on AI, and
And do you invest on a personal level as well, or through your group?
Through both, yes.
Yeah. And is that AI an area that you're looking at?
Yeah.
Is it the only area, or?
No, it's not.
I'm just trying to gauge where this cycle is, because we used to run Mashup. We had every 3 months like some location, social, Instagram, whatever, every 3 months, and I'm just kind of wondering where we are on the AI.
I think there's also things like quantum computing coming in, isn't it? So
Yeah.
so technology-wise, we've tried to pushing new boundaries all the time, and I think it's a human nature to try out things we don't understand.
So do you think AI is something that everyone in this room should have their hands up, or?
I think they should gain some level of understanding of it for sure.
Yeah.
And I think it's pretty easy to. I mean, I think even in Sri Lanka, I say like I think in back in the old days, knowledge used to be like an issue, but now with internet, you can go get a degree from MIT if you had the time. So I think everyone should.
There's no excuse.
That's no excuse. Yeah. And knowledge, I think, is a commodity, and what really is necessary as entrepreneurs is the creativity, is how you use the knowledge in the space that you're in, right? Like how do you apply that knowledge with the resources that you have?
Yeah.
I was just going to throw a question on the morality point and regulation. It's quite an interesting philosophical thing, because AI, by definition, when you start to regulate it, you're trying to control it. And a bit like tax havens, surely we'll get jurisdictions that establish themselves and say, well, base yourself here, we don't have any AI regulation.
I was chatting to the government of the Isle of Man this afternoon. That's exactly what they're doing. They started with the gaming. Most of the large gaming companies are based in the Isle of Man. They're now doing it with blockchain and AI.
And so why would somebody try and regulate AI? Because ultimately you're going to lose. I'm just throwing it out there on the morality point. And one person's morality is another person's principle.
Yep.
So,
the scary thing about everything here is we don't actually know what its capabilities really is. We can debate it all night, but we actually do not know what it can do and what its potential is, and that's really the scary thing behind it. And going to the point of legislation, well, we don't know what it can do, and it could be catastrophic. Really some legislation should come in place to cap that potential.
See, this is a bit controversial, what I'm about to say, but I've been in the digital sector, tech sector, as Manoj calls it, for a long time, and in 1999 I remember hosting a bunch of events in London where everyone talked like this about the year 2000 problem. It was hilarious. Everyone was like, we don't know how bad it's going to be, the world's going to... Yeah. Nothing happened. Nothing. Like maybe, you know, Mrs. Miggin's alarm clock in, you know, South Malden didn't. That was the biggest problem.
We're not talking about a final date.
Yeah.
We're talking about this is going to be here forever.
Yeah.
You know, that's the difference between the year 2000 and the potential for AI.
I know, it just has echoes though of the same kind of, like people, I don't know, maybe, I just, when I hear you're talking about like a practical application of AI, like it's looking at photos, looking at the clay, and essentially, like a human would do, it's able to go, yep, I reckon that's 2 grams worth of damage. You know, that's what it's doing. When we go, how do we get from there to, you know, Terminator over here? Skynet. Like that, and that's kind of what I keep hearing, but I'm like, I just don't. You know, meanwhile, my printer doesn't work. You know?
You can't get Wi-Fi.
I can't get Wi-Fi. Yeah. So.
I don't think that's a single step. I think if we start putting some human values into AI, you know, we're not going to discriminate against people. That's a value. We can put that in. We're not building AI to do that. You know, all the big, you know, Google, Microsoft, Apple, all got these ethics, and there's only about 10 of them. We won't do this. We won't do that. The big ones coming out is AI will be explainable. You need to be able to explain why you actually did that. And you've just explained yours, but you need to be able to explain what's going on. Needs to be transparent. These are big concepts, and you only have to put 10 or 15 of these rules in place to actually start thinking about why you do it.
As humans, though, I'm not sure we can explain why we do what we do.
It's getting very philosophical.
We have rules, though, don't we?
And if you throw in a few glasses of wine, that gets you know, even worse.
We put that bias into the things that we develop.
You say we have rules, but we don't have rules. We have rules, somebody else has different rules. So we don't understand human intelligence. So someone said before, do we understand artificial intelligence? The fact is, we understand, I'm from the medtech sector.
Yeah.
We understand a fraction of human intelligence. So, well, you know, we probably understand a smaller fraction of artificial intelligence.
And the AI might develop to discriminate because it's entirely logical.
Well, it probably will, because it's based on bias data.
On a practical level,
Yeah.
I had a collision in my car about 3 years ago, and the insurance company insisted that it had to go through a process. The cost was £7,500, where my local bodywork would have done it for £1,500.
Yeah.
Now, why the £6,000 difference? I could only bring it down to the commission levels involved in the industry that lookers had a deal with the insurance company. And the insurance guy was on commission, and the lookers guy was on commission. The whole process was in there. And that 6,000 spread. If AI can reduce that, take out that commission structure that made up £7,500. That's the challenge to AI. Will it bring down the cost?
So your investments and what you're doing is focus very much on the practical application of AI that actually solves essentially a real world problem.
Yeah,
and makes it more efficient.
Yeah, and he's talking about fraud detection as well. So what a lot of CEOs of insurance companies are worried about is when you send your car in to the insurance shops, they're like, oh, you have this other damages. Why don't you just book that and the insurance company will pay for it? But then when you take the picture at the time, and it's like the time, and then you see the rain, etc. We check weather data, etc. So we also check if the photo is taken at that place at that time, etc. So there are.
Do you tell people this? You're going to end up catching a lot of people out. People won't think like that. You know, they won't realise that. Yeah, if I take this photo 2 days later and the sun's in a different position, and I claim I took it just after the crash, it's not going to work.
Well, we raise it as a maybe a false thing.
Yeah, we'll wrap it up. So is there anything you want to say about your businesses and why, you know, most of these guys know you, but
yeah, I think
on the AI front.
Yeah, I think the companies that we are working with at the moment, they are not really at the cutting edge where you are operating as. So I think, you know, you could look at the technology space. We're still trying to sort out some fundamental issues. For example, you know, how often your toilet gets clean, and you know, how do we replace this paper on the back of the door on the toilet in public? You know. So you still got a lot of different things that still need sorting out, and then at the far end you've got this AI is trying to solve much more complex problems. So I think, you know, what I've seen is that there are companies coming up with trying to solve problems that existed 10 years ago, but they're trying to come up with slightly different variants. So the problems are still there, the problems keep increasing, and as entrepreneurs we try to find solutions. So most of our companies aren't in the AI space yet, but I think as they move forward, as they start growing, I think the AI will become at least a topic for conversation.
Well, it sounds like it. So before we close off, do you want to add a little bit more? Also, why should someone come and have a chat with you afterwards? Who would you like to hear?
Well, I'm open for interesting conversations with AI anytime. I just want to say, like, I really believe that there's no reason to fear AI. I mean, any new technology, I heard apparently when trains first came along, people were like, oh my god, trains, right? And we just need to understand that I think, you know, some people spoke about control. I really believe control is also is an illusion in many ways, or levels of control. I think we should be put in place, obviously, but don't fear it. I think be cautious of it rather than fearing it, because fear doesn't, you know, it's not a good place to be. So I think I think the you know, we believe strongly that there are cases, like for example, we're working on one particular case in Sri Lanka for Sri Lankan farmers, where we're trying to help Sri Lankan farmers with, you know, getting insurance for their crop yield, right? And if we didn't collect that data, if we didn't make that all available, Sri Lankan farmers wouldn't have that insurance. Yeah. So I mean, those are things we need to kind of weigh the pros and cons.
Yeah, so look on the positive side and take control by not having fear. I think is a good. Great. Well, look, thank you guys for your time
Yeah, I think it's very warm outside.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.